You know that feeling when you're trying to fall asleep and suddenly your brain decides to replay a conversation from 3 years ago? Not the whole conversation, just that one thing you said, the thing that came out wrong, the thing you wish you could take back. Your stomach drops, your jaw tightens, and you're right back there feeling the exact same flush of embarrassment you felt in the moment. Or maybe it's a different kind of replay. The argument you didn't win, the perfect comeback you thought of 10 minutes too late. You lie there, silently delivering the closing statement you never got to make, imagining the other person finally understanding your point. It's exhausting, and it's also one of the most universal yet isolating experiences of being human. Psychologists have a name for this. It's called rumination. And once you understand what it actually is, you stop seeing it as a character flaw and start seeing it for what it truly is, a brilliant, ancient, but deeply misfired survival instinct. Think about what's really happening in those moments. You're not just remembering, you're reliving. You're trying to rewrite history. You're searching for a different outcome, a different version of you that was smarter, funnier, or less vulnerable. The conversation is over. It exists in the past, but for your brain, it feels as urgent as if it were happening right now. That urgency isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that a very old part of your brain is trying to protect you. Here's where it gets interesting. Most people think they ruminate because they're overthinkers or anxious or just too sensitive. They try to stop. They tell themselves, just let it go. But that never works, does it? Telling a ruminating brain to let it go is like telling a smoldering fire to just stop smoking. It ignores the embers. The reason you can't let it go is because your brain isn't trying to solve a social problem. It's trying to solve a survival problem. Deep in your brain, in a region called the default mode network, your mind is wired to make sense of your social world. Thousands of years ago, being rejected from your tribe wasn't just sad, it was a death sentence. So your brain evolved a hypersensitive radar for social threats. A wrong look from the chief, a dismissive grunt from a hunter, your brain would replay it, analyze it, and try to figure out how to avoid it next time. That ancient software is still running, but now, instead of analyzing a grunt from a tribesman, it's analyzing a text message that felt a little cold, or a comment your boss made in a meeting. Your brain doesn't know the difference between social survival and physical survival. To your neurons, a micro-rejection at work feels the same as being left outside the cave at night. The harsh truth is this. Your brain would rather keep you safe by reliving a painful memory 1,000 times than risk you missing a crucial clue that could prevent future pain. It chooses the comfort of familiar misery over the uncertainty of letting go. This is why the replay feels so compulsive. It's not a weakness in your character, it's a feature of your neurology. To really understand this, let's look at how it starts. Think back. For many people, this pattern isn't something they developed overnight. It was forged much earlier. If you grew up in an environment where you had to be constantly aware of other people's moods, maybe a parent who was unpredictable, or a household where conflict meant you had to walk on eggshells, your brain learned that hyper-vigilance was the price of peace. You learned to scan for micro-expressions, to analyze tone of voice, to replay interactions to see what you missed. It wasn't a disorder, it was a strategy. It was how you stayed safe. That child who learned to survive by reading the room perfectly grew up into an adult whose brain is now a master at it. The problem is, the danger is gone. The survival strategy has become a prison. And here's the painful part, the part that most people never realize. The replay isn't just about the past conversation, it's about your identity. When you replay that awkward thing you said, you're not just trying to fix the memory, you're trying to prove to yourself that you're not the kind of person who says awkward things. Your brain is protecting your self-image. The argument you didn't win? Replaying it is your brain's attempt to reassert your intelligence, your competence, your rightness. The loop is an identity protection program. And as long as your brain believes your identity is under threat, it will keep running the program. But there's a quiet cost to this. The same trait that protects you can also isolate you. While you're mentally living in a conversation from last week, you're absent from the conversation happening in front of you right now. While you're busy defending yourself to a person who isn't there, you're eroding your sense of peace with the person you are. So if telling yourself to stop thinking about it doesn't work, what does? The first step isn't to stop the replay, it's to change your relationship with it. You can't tell your brain to stop trying to protect you, but you can show it that you're safe now. The next time you find yourself caught in the loop, pause. Don't try to solve the conversation. Don't analyze what you should have said. Instead, silently label what's happening. Say to yourself, my brain is trying to protect me. It's running the social survival program. That's it. Just naming it does something powerful. It shifts you from being a passenger in the thought to an observer of it. You stop being the person who is embarrassed, and you become the person who notices there is the feeling of embarrassment. You're activating a different part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, which gently whispers to the panicked amygdala, "Thanks for the alert, but we've got this. There's no tiger here, it's just a memory." This isn't about bypassing the feeling, it's about meeting it with a new kind of attention. From there, you can introduce one simple, grounding question. Ask yourself, what is actually happening right now, in this room? In your head, you might be getting yelled at by your boss, but in reality, right now, you're sitting in a chair. You're reading these words. The air is quiet. The threat is a ghost. Your body needs to feel the difference between the memory of a threat and the safety of the present moment. This is the core of it. You're not arguing with the thought. You're gently guiding your nervous system back to the shore of the present. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to solve the past, you often gain the clarity you were searching for. When you're no longer emotionally flooded by the memory, you might see the situation with fresh eyes. You might realize the other person wasn't even upset, or that your comment wasn't as awkward as you thought, or that the person you were arguing with was never going to understand you anyway, and that's not a reflection of your worth. The relief doesn't come from finding the perfect thing to say. It comes from realizing you don't need to say anything at all. So the next time you're lying in the dark and your brain offers you that old, painful tape, you can recognize it for what it is. It's not a command. It's not a sign of failure. It's just an ancient, overprotective part of you doing a job it no longer needs to do. You can thank it for its service, and then, gently, you can let the silence in.